Hello. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the BoltOps reference architecture, and we're going to kind of create a bunch of VPCs today. And we're going to all create these VPCs in the same account. So we're going to use a single AWS account. Okay. So most of the BoltOps Pro documentation actually has READMEs that discuss creating this with multiple accounts. Okay. And the reason it does that is because with taking the multiple account strategy, there's some additional benefits, basically security and increased isolation. So let's say if you want to do something in production, you know you're not going to mess with development or vice versa. You know you're not going to do something in development and affect production because you get that increased nice guardrail right there. Okay. But there are scenarios where everything's in the same account and you maybe want the same account. So the BoltOps reference architecture supports that just fine. It uses a framework called Lono that also supports that just fine. So I'll show you actually today how easy that is to do this all in one account, okay? First, we're going to go down to the blueprint. Oh, actually, first, let's go ahead and clone the repository, okay? Yes, we need to clone the repository. Okay, so cloning it down, and then it's doing bundle, and then I'm kind of ready now, okay? So let's go to the VPC blueprint because I just cloned that down. Okay, so the VPC blueprint. Kind of close that. VPC blueprint basically has a prerequisite step here. It talks about setting up your settings file, which is for multiple accounts. So we don't really need that, but it's actually really useful to understand this and to actually adjust the settings file right here for one account. Okay, so actually I guess we need this one part right here. Okay, this part up here talks about setting up AWS configs and setting up different accounts and all that. I mean, we don't need that. We do need to kind of know a little bit about this. So Lono, for those who this is a new concept for, has a AWS profile settings configuration. And what that configuration does is it tightly bounds your name AWS profile like dev to the Lono EMV, which is development here, or MGT to management, or PRD to production. Here's the example down here. So here I'm calling Lono development, Lono CFN deploy blueprint, and that's going to automatically use AWS profile equal dev. Or let's say I don't set Lono EMV, but I set AWS profile to dev. That's going to automatically use Lono EMV development, and the same goes for production, and the same goes for management. So by doing that, it kind of prevents you from accidentally, let's say, provisioning development resources onto production and vice versa. So that's a really nice convenience, okay? And the reason I kind of explain all that context is we clone down this repo over here, okay? And let's actually open up this guy right here, the sidebar, and let's look at the settings file, because the settings file is actually designed for multiple accounts here, right? So one way you can do this is if you're just using the default profile and you don't have your EMV variable AWS profile set, you just comment this out, then you're good to go. Okay, another way of doing this is actually just basically using the same profile, right? You could just use the same profile. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm using the same profile. I'm just going to show you that AWS profile set. Remember, if you comment out, you need to have this unset, okay? Because you're probably falling back to default or something, or we have to use the same one in here, okay? But I'm just use one because that's I feel like pretty clear. Okay, now we can actually go to launching the VPCs by following the blueprint instructions. And these blueprint instructions are usually just these 3 steps. You add the blueprint to your gem file, you configure some values, some starter values, and then you deploy the blueprint and you're ready to run. Okay, the first step here, adding VPC, we don't even have to do that with the reference architecture repo because that's already configured. I'll show you right here. There's blueprint VPC. Okay, so we are kind of done there. It's just this is a helper method that calls gem. Okay, close that down. So we've done step 1, and now step 2, configure. So let's go ahead and grab these 3 commands and just paste that right in here. Paste 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that generates some configuration files right here. Okay, so let's check out these configuration files to understand like what they do. Okay. There's production and there's management. I'm just rearranging the windows so we can see them together. Okay, now these parameters are essentially parameters that are being passed to the CloudFormation template. And you can see that this is just basically tagging the VPC name with main development for development. And then for management VPC, tagging with a different name, and for production, a different name. And there's the domain name there too, okay? So CloudFormation templates are configurable through parameters, and that's what those are, okay? But there's also these variable files that were generated. So let's check those guys out. Okay, so the variables file here, let me kind of remove the sidebar so we can see it more fully. And the variables file, okay, so this is a Lono concept. Sometimes, or most of the time, parameters are enough to basically customize how the template provisions the resources. But sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes you actually have to compile different templates. And variables allows you to compile different templates basically down. So basically this happens at what Lono calls compile time. And parameters happen at runtime, okay? Okay, so you can see what these variables are doing. They're basically saying what CIDR range we want for the development VPC, what CIDR range we want for the management VPC, and what CIDR range we want, excuse me, for the production VPC. It also kind of allows you to configure the number of subnets you want. So you can see that all these 3 VPCs are going to have 9 subnets. There's some private app subnets and private data subnets, and there's public subnets. If you wanted like less subnets, you just basically delete this, or you want more subnets, you can add it. You want different CIDR ranges, you can adjust it. It's all very configurable. Okay, we're gonna leave it as is because I think that's good enough for this sake of this video. Okay, so we did the first command, which is basically Lono C to generate a bunch of configuration files, right? And then we kind of review the configuration files to understand what they do and what they mean. And this README just kind of covers that. So I've already kind of gone over all that. Okay, so the next part is actually deployment. So this is the finally the time where we actually have to change the commands ever so slightly. So I'll show you kind of how to do that. Go in here and kind of create a new file here, and then I'm going to start modifying this, okay? So let me just start typing here, deploy development blueprint no, kind of messed that up there. I wanted to type it right here. Development blueprint VPC. And now I'm going to change this now. I'm going to change this to management. I'm going to change this to production, and I'm just kind of, so we can kind of see it clearly. Okay, so when you're using a single account, you can't name the stacks the same because they're going to collide. So we're naming the stacks differently here. We're naming one VPC stack, VPC development, then management, then production, but we're going to use the same blueprint, okay? By convention, usually when you're using a single account, the command nicely collapses down to using the same stack name because the blueprint name by default is the same name as the stack name. But here we're using different stack names from blueprint names, so we have to kind of explicitly specify the values. Okay, so now we are ready to run the command. Let's go run the command. So I'm going to go ahead and paste these 3 commands in. Okay, so that first stack is deploying, and I'm going to go, the first time you deploy a Lono stack, the first thing it creates is actually S3 bucket. So watch, this is a brand new account, no stacks yet. And I'm going to refresh it, and you see, oh, there's a Lono stack. So Lono basically creates this S3 bucket to upload the CloudFormation templates too. And it does this because then you can have larger CloudFormation templates, like a lot larger than if you were to basically just use the CloudFormation template off the file system. You just get a bigger template. Okay, so it does that, and then it's going to reuse that S3 bucket from this Lono stack here for all the other Lono stacks. So we launched 3 Lono stacks here: development, management, production. See, now all of them are being created like in progress and kind of parallel here. Okay, so here's the events, and it's going to take a little time to create all these resources. So I'm going to pause the video so you don't have to wait. So all 3 CloudFormation stacks, or I guess 4 CloudFormation stacks, but all 3 VPC stacks are completed. And I just want to show you how long it took. We're going to kind of click on VPC development here, go to the events tab right there, and scroll down to the bottom, where we eventually find user initiated. So this initiated, the stack launched at 1933 there. You scroll back up, 1936. So each of them took about 3 or 4 minutes or so to kind of finish completing, and we created all of them at the same time there. Okay. So I just also want to show you the VPC in the same account right here. You can go your VPCs, and you can see there's the 3 VPCs here with the different labels and different CIDR ranges. Okay, let's go back to the README. So again, we just have to modify the command very slightly, and then we were able to get this on a single account. Oh, yeah, on a single account. And that's pretty much it. Let's go back to the reference architecture. So to show you the diagram. So we built a production VPC, a development VPC, and management VPC all in a single account, okay? And we did that by just configuring a couple of variables and just deploying it. As simple as that. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you found it helpful. Okay, cheers.